Número 2 para los que aman el texto.
All right. Hello, everybody. Back at it again with another one of these Linux tutorials, part of the series that I've been making. This time we're going to be covering the quick text program that I made, and of course that's after the title, but you have absolutely no idea what it is. So here I just have a completely blank and empty terminal session, and I already have it open here. I'm just gonna swap it. So this is what we're going to be going over today. It's called quick text, this script. So before going into specifics, again, as has been the case with the previous video, I'm going to be explaining exactly the use cases before going into the code specifics. So first of all, what problem does it solve? And what would you be able to do by with it by the end? Before I can even answer that question, I have to address what the program even does. So um, many times you might find yourselves in a situation where you want to create just a text file for primarily reminders or small notes, or especially if you're like a programmer, like READMEs, that's like a very, very typical programmer conventions for teaching just general end users when you pre-package everything to deploy either a program, or it could be even be games, anything software. You might want to add some user notes for how to use the thing that the user downloaded. And so that's in those cases is when this program would be this script would be very, very beneficial, but it's also not limited to it. So what it does is, instead of you having to open a text editor manually, you simply just use the script, you just quick text it, and then you give it a name, and then you immediately type just like the one, the two, or however many lines of reminder you want to actually put inside of the file, and then you just exit the file and it automatically saves it. So it's something that's a little bit not too complex, definitely by the code that we have that I have here open. It's literally you like I can't even scroll it. Like with the other one, with the first video, I was able to scroll down because it was a little bit lengthier, but this is literally right here is the entire the entire program essentially, because everything else is just a menu. This is what runs everything. So I'll go over it in a little bit, but like I was saying, with the way that this works and being able to create a text file incredibly quickly, no text editors, no convoluted Linux commands, even though clearly you can see that it's not convoluted at all. But to avoid that and to make it a little bit more user friendly and for you to actually be able to remember how to use it, of course, I just named the script quick text. You can name it whatever you want. The name, as usual, is always derived after, like in my case at least, the function of what the script does. So that's why I named it quick text, because it makes a quick text file. So, with the problem that it solves, again, makes making these short text documents very, very quickly. I don't believe this works with copy pasting, but it could. It could. I'm not saying it couldn't. It could. But it's specific to those who are always making short little notes or reminders, even for oneself. Like if you're a content creator or even a programmer, or you just have lots and lots and lots of files, lots of games, lots of save files to deal with, lots of things to keep track of, and you're always making little reminders locally instead of putting it up in the cloud with some sort of service provider, like some sort of note provider, then this is incredibly useful for that, for being able to make those notes quickly and efficiently. Though, of course, if you actually want to properly edit and properly audit those files, and you're going to have to use a text editor, because it's completely outside of the scope of Bash, I believe, to be able to edit in real time. And again, that just a Bash just ends up replacing your text editor. So the whole point of this is make quick text file right off the bat, boom, and then be done with it until you need to edit it further. And I'm going to showcase the program actually running first before going over the code. So I'm already in my scripts directory where I keep all my scripts. So in this case, the name of it was quick text. So if I just put quick text, let's see what happens. Enter. So this is the message that I outputted to myself as a reminder. It says that you, again, just like pretty much all the other programs that I will be showcasing, all it tells you is that for my programs that you can use it if you, because you need to specify an argument. And if you want to know what those arguments are, you just the exact same command, name of the script, quick text, and then, or in this case, that's the alias that I give it to, which is the same name as the file name. And with the help flag, it's just an argument. So here it tells you how to use it. It's incredibly simple. You just quick text and then you insert space name of the text file that you want to make, and it creates a blank text file right in the terminal that you can immediately edit. Again, all within the terminal. So I'm actually going to give this a test right now. I'm going to do quick text, and let's call this file just test. Now, one very important thing to note is that with the way that I structured it, you don't actually have to even feed it like the extension .txt. It's automatically going to concatenate it to it, like I always say. That's pretty handy. So it's just, let's call it test, and then bam. Okay, so I clicked enter, and I'm already inside of essentially the text document that I'm editing. So I can just type some random gibberish right here, and then nothing appears to be happening, but that's because I have to actually press enter. But let me make something more cohesive. Let's just say hello world, which is the quintessential computer science message that every single student just learns, like the first thing that you learn to print to the terminal. So, and then to actually add this line to that blank file, I just got to click enter. And so that takes you to the next line of the document. And you can just type in whatever you want. You can just continue. It's going to, in that exact order that it appears, it's going to be added to the text document. So you could say, you are a cool dude, bro, or something like that, something fun. And enter, it's going to add immediately. Now, something cool about the way that this works is that I could keep going, right? I could just keep single lining, single lining, single lining wherever I need a line break. Or if I want to add a space, I could just enter, and it already adds a space essentially, because enter itself, I believe, is a white space that it adds, like a new line, though I am not 100% sure of that. But anyways, let me type another message here to make sure that it actually skipped the space when we actually view the contents of the file. So let's see, let's just put a little message, end of file, and then enter. And now this is the end of my test file. What I'm going to do is I have to actually exit the quick text script, and the way to do so, probably other ways to do it, you could make it so that you type in like a Q or some sort of letter or number combination, and you click enter, and it's not going to add and quit immediately. But the best way to do it is just, in my case, Control C. That's it. So that's like the most useful and the most common way of exiting Linux bash scripts, is just Control C, and I just did so. So I'm back to the terminal now, just plain old terminal, and I actually want to see if the contents got saved to the file. So what I'm going to do is type in this case, I'm actually catting back the test.txt file, and there it is. That is exactly what we typed in, what I just typed into the file to demo. Everything got added. You have the exact same copy. Hello world, you're a cool dude, bro. And then there's a space and then end of file. So everything works just as intended. Everything is perfect. And now I'm actually going to take you to the file to show you how to make this. So for quick text, again, I don't know if I explained this in the last video, but the way that I did it is I included a source file that's going to automatically add some error codes wherever it needed, and they're being added from this specific directory location. So it's just called error codes.txt, the file, and they have to be added as a source. So when you add something as a source in a Linux script, a bash script, then you could just immediately use whatever variables you set in there, or perhaps even functions. That is, if in Linux supports functions, which I believe they do. I just have to check back with my later programs to confirm. So take that with a grain of salt. But anyways, again, here the first thing that we have is making sure that it is a bin/bash script, so that when you open it in bash, it actually recognizes it as such. Have to tag it at the beginning. And then it's very simple selection. Like the way I selected is based on the first argument. So if your $1, which is the first positional argument, is equal to the string help, again, you just echo, like I made it echo the help text that's going to help me to actually use it. Otherwise, with the condition, if you just type anything other than help, then it's going to actually execute this single piece of code that does everything. It enters into the catting stream that redirects directly into a text file that you specify. And of course, if you execute the quick text script without any arguments, it's going to give you the invalid underscore argument $help variables, like whatever values are contained within those variables, which I got from the source itself. So instead of me having to keep copy pasting, or even like writing everything out by hand, it's just getting all the error codes that it needs to from the text file, which is amazing. It saves a lot of time. And of course, fi here is just to mark the end of this if else sequence. It's just fi. Doesn't necessarily mean the end of the file, it's just the end of an if else sequence that is required. And of course, I have a little message here that I'm gonna be going over some a little bit later. But what I have to do now is explain what exactly this single line that's doing everything is doing. So if you learned anything from the previous video, or you already know what a cat does, and I talk about it often, I literally just use it in this other tab right here to show the contents of a file. That is essentially what it does. It just takes all the contents of a file and displays it to the terminal. But in this case, with the way that it's being used with this right-facing arrow, I imagine, is that it is redirecting everything that you're catting, or essentially all your inputs are being redirected where? Into your $1.txt file, which again, $1 is the argument that you give it for the text file name, and then it just concatenates the text file extension. And so yeah, when it comes to this actual script, that's pretty much the whole of it. That's everything. I do have to go over some caveats though, and that's that with this little comment that I added here at the end, where I said, I just realized this is the exact same script as quick edit. I actually made a completely distinct script that I was planning on putting on another video, but then I decided not to because it's essentially doing the same as quick text. But then looking back now, I realized that it's actually not doing the exact same as quick text at all, and so it should be. I should include it in a video, and I'm gonna put both of them in here right now, so I'm gonna go over it. So I actually have to find it first. So it's just called, again, I'm opening it with the nano editor. It's just quick edit. Okay, I appear to have run into something. Let me just Control C out of there. Quick edit. Oh, it said I was already had it open. That's weird. Let's try that again. Let me just. Okay, so it turns out I actually already did have quick edit open. I just didn't realize it, and it wasn't some sort of thing that, oh, my system crashed and it left like a residual backup file that it was trying to mess everything up with that. No, it had nothing to do with that. It's literally just in another tab right here, quick edit. So the way that this works differently is with the code. There's basically no difference. The only difference here with this same exact line, the exact same script, the exact same length, everything is the same except it has one more arrow here. Now you might be wondering what that does, and I'm going to explain exactly what that's doing. So let's go back to the main terminal. So I already demoed the way that a quick text works, but how does a quick edit differ from that? Well, first of all, if I try to go ahead and re-edit the previous test file that I just made with quick text, let's see, quick text, and I'm going to put the exact same name, test. All right, so clearly it doesn't actually show you back like what was already added to the text file, which is kind of a problem, and there might be a way to do that. I could just make so that it cats all the contents first and then it enters into the cat, redirecting to a file stream sort of thing. But again, that's something for a future update. But for now, let's say I want to add new just any other text onto it, like just random string, or perhaps I could say just how are you doing today, sir? Just some random sentence, enter. So that's supposed to be added immediately after the last thing that we added, which was up here, the end of file. It's supposed to appear right after the end of file. But if I Control C out, and if I do the cat, oh, what happened there's a mistake. And there is the distinction. That is exactly the distinction. So what it actually did is it replaced all the previous contents of the file that we had, everything hello world, all of that, and it replaced it with just the new content, which was how are you doing today, sir? So that is a key difference that I didn't realize before, but it's extremely important. The single arrow that we saw over here, this single arrow is always, when you execute it onto the exact same text file name, is going to always replace all the contents that you already added. So it's basically refreshing, right? It's not actually adding anything new. And so that's why you have the double arrows, and that's why it's so useful, because double arrow actually does the opposite. So, for example, this one already has how are you doing, sir? How are you doing today, sir? If I do quick edit with the double arrows that we just saw over here, double arrows, probably meaning edit instead of overwrite, then work in the exact same text file, just test, right? And I'm gonna type something in. Let's add a space. Bam, let's add a space and say, you are a enter, and that is an internal joke that I shared with some of my friends. But if I do Control C now and exit, and once again I cat it, there it is. It actually concatenated it instead of what? Instead of overwriting all the content. So that is a key distinction between those two programs, and that is why this one is actually also very useful, because sometimes, again, you might not want to be dealing with errors and whatnot, especially if you're just adding line by line. For example, it could be creative concepts or just making a long list of X, Y, or whatever. Then quick edit is extremely useful for that. You would use quick text, um, you would use it to actually create the initial text file, but if you wanted to just keep adding onto it without having to deal with all the GUI nonsense, with all the noise, just get right to what you're supposed to add to it in the spur of the moment, and you use, again, quick edit. That's pretty much all I have for today's video. I hope you guys took something away from it, and in particular that you've learned of the power of CAD, even like this. Like, I didn't even know that CAD could be used in such a way, but it can. It can, and with some experimentation, some more additions, some more creativity, you could end up making this program even better with the suggestion that I gave, or otherwise make a complete behemoth out of this, or even any of the programs. But that's what I have for you today, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.